Welcome to the Fishing Daily podcast. We're here at the Catch Welfare Platform Conference in Bergen, Norway, and today I am joined by Christine Yichu from the Aquatic Life Institute. Welcome, Christine.
Thank you.
Christine, could you tell us a little bit about your role and tell us a little more about the Aquatic Life Institute?
Sure. So I'm the head of strategic initiatives at the Aquatic Life Institute. We're an international NGO based in the US, but I'm personally based in Spain. We're a fully remote team, founded in 2019 to address the very neglected issue of animal welfare in both aquaculture and fisheries. First, when we started, we primarily worked with some of the biggest global certification schemes, such as MSC, ASC, Global Gap, BAP, in trying to get them to either introduce or improve their standards for animal welfare. Now, in terms of fisheries, it doesn't exist at these big certification schemes. And what my role is to attend conferences like these to know what kinds of latest technologies are occurring right now, what's the latest scientific research, and put all of that together in a report that we publish every year so that we can go to policymakers and other relevant stakeholders and say good actors do exist in the industry and that these can be adopted and replicated in most of the industry for most species already. So that's why I'm here. And it's great to learn about some of the leading minds in this space.
What does the Aquatic Life Institute itself do?
We research and advocate for better welfare standards for animals that are being farmed and also caught in the wild.
And what's your relationship with fishermen? Like, you go out there and meet them and chat to them?
We don't currently have direct relationships with a lot of fishermen or women. We attend a lot of European Council meetings where a lot of industry representatives are in the room, as well as industry events such as Boston and Barcelona Seafood Expo, and now this event here. I also went to North Fishing last year in Trondheim, in Norway, to again learn about what are the latest technologies that's taking place in this field and show that there are trailblazers and that these technologies can be replicated in other fisheries across the globe. Because currently around 2 to 3 trillion individual animals are being caught and killed for human consumption every year. And yet the food sector in seafood is the remaining sector that doesn't take animal welfare into consideration, and it's not protected legally. So our role as advocates is to take practical solutions from industry and introduce it to policymakers both at international levels, such as the UN in their guidelines, but also national levels, such as, for example, in the European Commission or the US, Canada, etc.
So this is only the first day of the Catch Welfare Conference. What's your experience of it so far, and what have you learned from it?
I really love that they brought in a lot of representatives from the fishing industry to get to know their perspective on how introducing welfare into the sector could impact profitability, but also product quality, sustainability, scalability, and all of these other issues that maybe we haven't considered yet or haven't considered enough. And so not just thinking about animal welfare, but how this can impact everything else that's related to their business. And at the end of the day, the industry is the one that needs to make the change. And we really want to work with them and find scalable and practical solutions that will help them both meet their sustainability goals, but also their business bottom line.
And for the industry out there, this is all new concept for them. Like, what would you say to them in relation to coming into catch welfare and having a look at it in greater depth?
The first thing I would say is that it could be a huge potential business risk if they don't take this into consideration. As we've seen, a lot of consumers, the majority of European consumers surveyed, they want aquatic animals to have the same legal protection as farmed land animals. And some mm, nations, such as the UK, they've passed a recent sentence bill. So legislators are also looking into this issue. I think that businesses are starting to realize this slowly but surely, that this is another issue along with, illegal fishing, labor rights on fishing boats. Fish welfare is another issue that they need to take into account. Otherwise, it's a very potential risk to their reputation and their business operations in the future with consumers. They want to have the right to operate. And by looking into this issue, they can still have that right to operate in the future.
And how far down the line do you think will we be seeing legislation coming in into force for catch welfare?
How far?
How far? How many would be? Is it like 1 year, 2 year, 3 years? Is because you're meeting representatives in Europe and people like that there. So there must be a sense of when this is going to happen. Is it far, and will fishermen be looking at it in 5 years' time, or will we be looking at it in 2 years' time?
It's hard to tell because I think a lot of the times with legislation, it really depends on a sudden wave of public pressure. So in the US, some states have already preemptively banned octopus farming. It's not an activity that doesn't even exist right now. But because there's a potential of farming this very carnivorous species, some governments have said, we don't want to partake in this activity. In the EU, they were looking into updating their animal welfare legislation. Unfortunately, only one point that we had raised, along with many other advocates, was included, which is transportation, and that's only for farmed fish. For wild caught fish, that hasn't been reviewed yet, but we hope that in the next, let's say, 5 years, at least that can get into process. For example, the common fisheries policy, at least they can review it with animal welfare in mind.
Now, your area is specifically within fisheries. You don't deal with aquaculture.
That's correct.
So my next question might be of interest, will be of interest to fishermen, and I don't know whether your area goes into it or not, but a lot of fishermen are complaining about the fact that farm salmon has a huge impact with sea lice, which is now having a wider effect on other fish species and the areas of where they're being farmed. Um, would catch welfare extend to areas like that?
Well, I think that when you look at aquaculture and fisheries, they are linked because, for example, one farmed salmon needs 120 wild-caught anchovies to be brought to harvest weight. And when you you talk about animal welfare in aquaculture, you have to think about the cascading welfare impacts in fisheries and vice versa. If we keep farming carnivorous species such as salmon, we will need to continue to catch a lot more numbers of species in the wild to feed this one farmed salmon. Regarding welfare in aquaculture, there are 5 pillars that we have developed, and one of which is stocking density. So if you can reduce the stocking density in salmon farms, for example, then you could reduce the risk of sea lice and these types of disease and environmental issues that could spread to surrounding waters. Similarly, in capture fisheries, if you can improve capture methods along with retrieval methods, onboard handling that includes stunning before slaughter, then you could really increase the viability of the operations and reduce bycatch and ensure that the discarded catch continue to survive.
Christine, If somebody wants to learn more about the Aquatic Life Institute, where can they go to find out about it?
We have a website that's www.ali.fish, where you can find a lot of our resources. That includes both welfare recommendations for aquaculture as well as captured fisheries. And in fact, I have a copy here right now that we publish every year. It's called Marine Capture Fisheries Best Practices for Aquatic Animal Welfare. And it highlights some of these technologies and research that's taking place and some of the people that we've spoken to at the conference today.
And if anybody wants to get involved with you, or how can they go about that?
They can reach out to me directly at Christine@ali.fish, and we can see if there are any ways that we can collaborate. We're always happy to work with industry. We're working with several seafood businesses along the supply chain right now to help them update their sourcing language to include animal welfare policy, and also working with policymakers. So we're very happy to collaborate.
Well, Christine, very glad to have you here and have this talk and learn more about the Aquatic Life Institute. And maybe sometime we might have another chat.
Thank you very much for having me.